Hallo Stefan.
Hello, Pablo. How you doing?
Pablo. Okay. So, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Let's talk about big data. What do you think about big data?
Well, I think it's a really hot topic that's become in the last years,
Yeah,
and
everybody seems to be talking about it.
yeah, and yeah, I mean um, we all have heard all the advances, all the positive impacts that it has. I've just found some quite interesting facts that don't necessarily need to be negative or positive. It's just something that I just found, and that also could lead us to kind of question the situation a little bit.
Any examples?
Yeah, I mean it's basically the idea that this overall machinized, overall digitalized environment of information could lead also to the question of what's there for the human, what's there for something that's
The human element.
exactly like the human element, and what's something that is kind of um, left for intuition.
Yeah, what you're trying to say is basically what's left for humans once the robots take over.
Exactly, kind of
Yeah.
like that. So it's kind of what role is left for intuition, face uncertainty, or just acting in contradiction to all this evidence that machine are providing us.
Yeah, wasn't
So
that the TED talk? There was a TED talk by a guy. I forgot his name. What was his name?
it's Beneth Courtier.
Yeah, he was. What was he? He was talking about. He was very passionate about big data.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting to see how all these big advances, for example, in the field of health, like for example
Yeah,
nowadays it's possible to predict if someone suffers from cancer.
yeah, that
Um,
is amazing.
but it's also leading then to the fact that some doctors are being I mean, not replaced, but nowadays we
Yeah,
can
I've heard
replace
that.
this.
I've heard that IBM's supercomputer Watson can now more accurately diagnose people compared to doctors. But still, I don't want Watson diagnosing me. I want a real human doctor. You know.
But at the same time, the also the other interesting phase of it is that all this over analyzing situations is also leading to, for example, to that this data analyzes criminal records.
Oh, criminal records. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's
It's
also
all
going
like yeah,
a little bit into the privacy.
yeah,
So that is as he explained, the question is then like, what's is it going too far? Sometimes, like, if we are as humans, we are getting a credit score by, or for example, our lives, like the how we
yeah.
did at school, how we did in university. Maybe this person just didn't like what he was
I'm
doing.
I'm screwed. If we're getting a score, I'm screwed. Like,
That's something that is interesting. And then there's the question, what's left for the privacy? And talking about privacy is the news come up I think 3 weeks ago of the big Uber hack, which
oh
is
right.
basically in um, if all this information is stored, um, what's the problem then with our, like, how we going to secure our information? For example, our credit card details, or for example even our direction. Let's say, for example, I mean, I'm not saying that celebrities are more important than us, but someone could find out where I live,
Yeah,
what,
and
like,
that
all
would
the
be
information.
terrible.
And
But we advertisers do know where you live, where you take your bath, how often do you go to the toilet. I mean, big data is a big part of advertising now.
yeah, and it's affecting it a lot. And I mean,
Do you think it's a good thing?
I mean, it depends from which perspective we analyze it, because there was a shift between the power. The power shifted now from the publishers to the marketers. Before, like, publishers were able to decide what is going to get into the for example magazine, or for example the in the medium in which advertising is going to be placed. And nowadays, in which where we when we are moving to more this digital world, um, it's leading to this kind of role in which now publishers are really under pressure, because they're basically markets are forcing to doing this kind of over personalized content.
Okay.
We say like this,
too specific, too
I mean,
tailored.
Nowadays we are spending on only purchase of data over 250 billion per year.
Jesus.
Purchase of data space, like to placing the ads, and this is basically to reaching people in the end. Connecting it to big data, the aim is to reaching people optimal times, and this personalized content is basically is creating like a data fingerprint, like a so it's
that I didn't think of that, a data fingerprint.
Yeah. So it's basically all this tracking, all the tracking sometimes can also lead to the trust from the customers to the advertisers. There's something interesting, because it's in the end, like, we go on the internet, we see that all the ads are kind of you check our website, and then all the ads are there. So it's kind of, sometimes I perceive that it could lead a little bit to a position in which people are tired, and therefore also they are using ad blockers for it. So it's kind of this environment, and especially with all this targeting data, there was this major leak, and there was this documentary about that came out a short time ago in an independent magazine about this major leak of the Russian involved in the Trump in the Trump
campaign, the Russian involvement. Apparently they were data centers. They were
they were buying ads in Facebook.
I know,
and Facebook horrible. Was kind of saying no, we didn't know about it, and it's basically the judge was saying, like, or I think it was the senator was saying, like, I mean, they are purchasing spaces in your platform, you don't know about it. So it's kind of, it's again this kind of,
I mean, they have to play dumb if they want to save their butt. They have to play dumb. Of course,
it's a business, but the thing is, it's also, I mean, we are basically here, okay, advertisers are here to sell shit that people don't need, but it's also a red line, you know?
No, we're not here to sell shit that people don't take.
Okay, that's the.
I'm just joking. We are all right.
So yeah, and this final, the conclusion of this section is also for me has to do with a neo, like a small documentary article for The Economist that was talking about this Big Brother effect, in which nowadays digital advertising is leading to tracking, and basically this person in this article was saying that she contacted a company called Bluekai, which is one of the big data traders, and basically she could see absolutely everything what she was what she was doing. Like, for example, this agency could predict, okay, if she's going to travel to this place from this airport, where she was this specific type of the month, because they are absolutely recording everything you do, for example, with your mobile phone, tracking absolutely anything. And
wow.
And this, they can sell it. And I think this comes to the point when you have that kind of this technological versus cultural or moral norms, like what is right and what is wrong, you know, and this also in advertising also then has been applied to social media. Now social media has become like a big media of generated content.
Yeah, and we constantly have to pump out shit to keep the interest of people.
And this spreadable media also, like, there's some facts that, like, in the end of the day, there's like the whole whole social media is built is by 1% that's generating the content.
Is it 1% really?
It's 1%, like, wow. The really good content. 10% is literally like interacting with it and doing something with it, and then 100%, like the rest is basically just profiting. So this 1% of the users are creating it. So it's kind of it's all based on this idea of content generation from a small part, and then all the rest is benefiting.
Okay.
And I think this also relates to advertising, because like specific individuals now, like let's say it like this, kind of influencers that you are saying it now, are also being involved in advertising process, when before social media was also only a way to kind of express or generating stuff that was not built to sell. And one example is this video of Casey Neistat, this American YouTuber.
Yeah, I used to watch him. Yeah.
So, well, basically, and for the record, we are trying to get him on TEDx UAL 2018. So, keep posted to that.
Really, you're trying to? Did you email him?
Yeah, we are getting in touch with it. We are selling actually a box. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is out of context.
All right.
But Casey Neistat, basically, I watched a video this summer which was about a beautiful way to change, like, live life, and it was a video in which they traveled to France. It was like saying enjoy every moment of the day, like traveling around.
Is that the Nike commercial?
No.
Okay.
But in the end of the video, like, it was an 8-minute video, like like empowering you to do the best what you want. But in the last second, it said everything was filmed with a Samsung Galaxy S something. So that's the kind of problem that I think is
How is that a problem?
I mean, no, not a problem, but it's interesting how in the last video you get the bit. I think it was brilliant.
Oh.
To be honest, I think it was brilliant because it's basically it's this super smart involvement. But it's interesting how brands are kind of trying to find the way, and you never know if this video was planned by Samsung, for example.
Yeah,
it probably was.
With Casey, I would say no though, because he's given a lot of freedom when it comes to. He also worked for Mercedes before, and that was also, they just gave him some money and he blew it on a Salt Lake with doing some crazy shit. With Casey, I wouldn't know really, but yeah, you raised incredibly interesting points.
But let's say that let's say just that I
think we should end here. We should end here.
One final example is what makes this quality of the content. And this is an article. It's an article that I also saw in
the New Yorker.
No, not the New Yorker, but Entrepreneur India. There's like a magazine, and it's basically was talking about how you build this quality of media. It's basically create on value, but this value nowadays is also like with big data and advertising. Also, we can kind of predict what is the audience value. So then people can generate the content based on that. That's a big question, because it's in the end it's all about creating value and creating value often.
Yeah.
And this leads to subscription, because then it's like a regular basis of input or excitement that people can relate to and kind of engage. And that's in the end what also brand is building a connection with the customers. And I think that's quite interesting, that nowadays in the end with big data, with advertising, this is leading to the user generated content, which is then merging, and which boundaries are kind of a little bit blurring what is content and what is advertising.
Yeah. Well, that was fascinating. Thank you very much for the conversation. It was, wow. And hopefully it works out with Casey. Yeah.
Hopefully.
All right.
So yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity.